Hello, Karthik.
Hi.
Hi, today we'll be speaking to Karthik. He's the founder and principal director at Varnam. So, Karthik, this is a relatively new age career. What really got you into this? What got you interested, and why'd you set up here?
The craft that I work with is not relatively new. In fact, it's over 200 years old. But what I've done with it, yes, I mean, you could say that it's old wine in a new bottle. What I do with it is fairly new. I have been working in the corporate industry for 16 years, but I've always been interested in the crafts. And crafts in India go back thousands of years. And I have been exposed to it through a whole lot of social work that I've done. And it was during these regular interactions with artisans that I felt that I needed to do something with the craft, but something which hadn't been done before. So I wanted to get the crafts out of the handicraft tag and make them stand on par with any branded product that you buy today. And I felt what crafts needed was some kind of a design intervention and branding and communication. So that's where I decided to start Varnam. Varnam started as a hobby over weekends, in addition to my day job, and I had a small little exhibition around 2 years ago, and friends came for it. It was a sellout. I remember I had done a few lamps, and it did really well. And after that, I started getting inquiries. People started showing interest in it. So slowly, the number of products that I started designing increased. And when I started seeing the reaction,
Yeah.
I realized, well, there's something that I could do here. And that's how Varnam started. It's been 2 years now, and yeah, it's going on.
Okay, and what advice would you give to like people who are at a desk job and they want to make the move to something more creative? What advice would you give them?
Well, I don't know. It's not as much as a transition from a desk job to a creative job, because I think any job can be creative. It depends on how you look at it. Uh, it depends on what you want to do and what appeals to you. I have always wanted to be in a creative field from the beginning. Incidentally, the corporate job that I do also is in creative field in radio and programming and television.
Okay.
So I was always involved in a creative aspect, but not in design. I was involved in design management. So I worked with designers. I didn't design myself. But I was always interested in designing. I didn't get to study design, but I kept an interest in it. I would read up on design. I would read books on design and home and interiors. So I always wanted to do it. I never had the courage. But one fine day over coffee, my mom started it off saying, why don't you do a small exhibition just on the side to keep you busy over weekends? And that's how it started. So you have to listen to yourself. There is a time and a place for everything. If you feel that you want to experience something different and you have an interest in something else, unless you get into it, get your hands dirty, you will
Yeah.
never know.
I guess the biggest challenge is taking the first step and really,
Yes.
starting and not just contemplating.
Yes.
Um,
Take baby steps. And then if you feel that this is what you like to do, then take giant steps.
Yeah. And what academic qualifications do you think someone in this industry would need?
Well, I wouldn't think you would need anything, because I don't have. I mean, ideally, if you were a trained designer from NID, Srishti, NIFT, it makes your job easier. But I think more than anything else, more than an academic qualification, the industry that I work in, craft, you need to have a genuine passion for it. It's not like a typical design field. Having a design knowledge or education helps, but unless you're passionate about India, about our culture, about our heritage, and you're crazily adamant about working with artisans, only then you should do this. Qualifications come much later.
Okay. And other than passion, what qualities do you think someone in this industry would require to do well?
Well, crafts is not easy. Artisans are not easy to deal with. It's handmade. If it's not a machine-made industry, so what takes a machine? If a machine can churn around 1,000 in a day, a handmade product in the same design you could probably only turn around 10. So it's that difficult to do it. But at the same time, it's as much more beautiful. So it's not easy to do the whole thing. You need to be stubborn and adamant. Otherwise, you will give up very easily. And you also need to be patient with the artisans, because you can't give up. So this is an industry which is not easy to work with. Artisans are not always ethical about timelines, about advances, about money. So you need to not give up. You need to keep the long-term vision in mind.
Okay. And what does your typical day look like?
So now I'm in a place where I work part-time. So I have a corporate job 3 days a week. And then I
Okay.
have 3 days a week where I do my Varnam work. But I have to juggle the two because on the remaining 3 days when I'm doing Varnam work, I'll always have a call from office that I need to get into, a teleconference that I need to get to, a conference call. So I have to juggle both because at the end of the day, Varnam is something that I do out of a passion, but my corporate job is what pays my bills. So my first loyalty always lies with my corporate job. So on a day that I'm not in my office desk, I'm invariably running around in my studios. I have an order to do. I do everything myself. I have an assistant who's my driver. But right from packing to checking online to ensuring that people's queries are responded to ensuring that my products are clean, they are sorted, to sitting and designing. And it can be multiple things in a day. There are times when I need to run off to one of the vendors. I need to go and source some material. So it's chaotic. I mean, if I were to ask what's a typical day like, it's chaotic because in the middle of all of that, I also need to do my office job. So it's chaotic.
Okay. And is there a lot of coordinating with, vendors and designers and,
Yeah. So in my case, the process is a little more simplified because I do the designs myself, and I do most of the designs that I do are when I am on my way to work in my car, in my desk job. So I have a 1.5 hour commute. So I sit with my iPad and I do my sketches there. And often there are times when I see something somewhere and it strikes me. If I might be at a traffic signal and I might see something on the wall or in a park, and I immediately get an idea. So whenever I get an idea, I make it a point to pull out my iPad and make a sketch because that always helps. I don't want to lose it. So that's where most of my design goes into. But otherwise, I coordinate. In terms of coordination, most of my coordination happens with my artisans in Channapatna. So I go there once or twice a week. Like I was there yesterday. I sit for the whole day. I get my prototypes done, my samples done. Once it is approved, then I start coordinating with them on the telephone. So that's a lot of coordination.
Yeah. And where do you really draw your inspiration from?
A lot of my inspiration is drawn from my childhood. So I think that we were probably one of the last few generations which didn't have the internet as we grew up.
Okay.
So I think that was a blessing because a lot of the time that I had was playing games with kids my age, running around, creating a world of fantasy. I remember we would have very limited television, so we would create fantasy games out of that. We would have the time to join circulating libraries. We didn't have to follow 100 different things. So we had a very lazy childhood, where we did things that we liked. So all of that stayed in my mind. So I draw a lot of inspiration from my childhood days with my parents.
Okay, and how do you really know when you come up with a design what will work and what won't work and what you should do and what you shouldn't?
I think the fact that I don't have a design education, in fact, works as an advantage to me because then I don't go heavily into conceptualizing it, the whole concept behind it, and trying to portray a concept. I think it comes out of the heart. And because it comes out of the heart and I feel strongly about it, I do it.
Okay.
I have never, in the 2 years that I've been working, I have never ever thought that will this work or not. If the way I do this is I believe that I have a certain aesthetic sense which I like, and I feel that if I like it and if I will buy it, then the others will buy it. So I think that's what has worked for me, which is why all the stuff that I do, if I like it only then I produce it, and if I produce it I sell it, and if I sell it people usually end up buying it. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and finally, what would your advice be to young people who are aspiring to be in this profession?
Well, I would urge a lot of youngsters to get into it, because crafts is what sets India apart. Crafts is what gives us our identity, and not look down upon crafts and say that they are ancient, but actually see that how do I make crafts more relevant. When you're looking at, there are institutes that offer you design studies, which is great. There are also institutes like the Crafts Institute in Jaipur, which allows you to work with different crafts. So I would want more and more people to study crafts, if not intern with enterprises like us, learn about it and see how they can contribute, because crafts are here to stay, they'll never die.
Okay, yeah, thanks. I'm sure our viewers will really enjoy and benefit from this
Thank you.
video.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
All right, bye.